It's okay.
Morning, good morning. Come on in. Come on in. I think the time change rejuvenated us. I don't know. Okay, let us rise in body or spirits. We'll sing our opening hymn, which is number 396 in the gray hymnal. I know this rose will open.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody. My name is Ben Basili. My pronouns are he and him, and I serve this congregation today as a worship associate. My opening words are entitled, The Blessings of Trust by Reverend Scott Taylor. We gather today to receive the blessings of trust. May the relationships in this room remind us that we do not have to depend only on ourselves. May the quiet we share help us hear and renew our faith in that still small voice inside. May the music sung inspire us to hold tight to the restorative rhythms of the world. May the words offered remind us that we too have a voice, one that must be trusted and shared. With our hearts open, let us begin. Today we honor the interdependent web of all existence by covenanting to cherish earth and all beings, creating and nurturing relationships of care and respect. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we work to repair harm and damaged relationships. But we cannot do this important relationship-building work without the practice of trust. Today's service offers us an opportunity to practice trust with each other, all members of this community, so we may build that dreamed-about world centered in love. But first, Heather will call us into community by lifting up some of the events happening around here.
Good morning. I'm Heather Norby. I'm the spiritual life director for this fantastic congregation, and I use the pronouns she and her. Well, today, after service, is potluck. Yay! Something to celebrate. So please join us whether you brought something or not. We want you there, want to get to know you better, and build community with you. Probably the most important announcement that I have today is that, well, it has been the pledge drive, but the pledge drive is coming to an end. Yay! Well, except for we need you to turn in your pledges. So Crystal very nicely made us this slide with a QR code on it, And so all you have to do is zoom your camera into it and tap on the website, and it takes you to our pledge form where you can thoughtfully put in your pledge for the next year. Adam tells me that we have raised $25,000.
Right now, I would say
A little less than 30. Yes, that's great, that's great. But our goal is about 100,000, which, that builds a healthy church for all of us. And, we can do a little bit with 30,000. We can keep the lights on and the AC and all of that, and the insurance and for hurricanes, sure. But we like to put money into our committees so that we can keep up our buildings and grounds, so that we can make sure we have a membership committee. Oh yeah, I'm getting there. So that we can go out into the community and do First Friday and do our social justice work. And we would also like to be able to pay our employees. Yes, I am one of those employees. Helen is an employee. Melissa is an employee. So we are, I guess, we're pretty important to the community. And also, we would love to be able to give Isaiah a salary as our music director. That would be lovely. Yes, yes. And I would love to be able to hire a sexton. We call her Petra. And honor the work that she does. She puts in a lot of work. So please pledge. You can go online and find the pledge form. You can also get a printed version of the pledge form from Adam. Also, Vaisel has some, and I wrote a letter. Helen has some. They are easily available. It is in the newsletter. And yes, I did. I wrote a letter for all of you to read about how fantastic this community is and where your money goes. It doesn't just disappear. It's here. It's here for you. You're investing in yourself and your community when you pledge. So that was my very important announcement. Please, let's do this. We can do this. Yes. Yay! I trust you all. This Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. in the sanctuary is Popcorn Theology, and Isaiah and Adam will be showing a movie entitled Dear Kelly, which kind of digs into why people fall into conspiracy theories and whatnot. It's a very interesting documentary, so please join us. This coming Saturday, we have our annual Circle B Bird Walk. It's something that we auction off. It's $20 a ticket. We did our service auction in December, but there's still tickets available. So Ken and Dorothy and myself take you out to Circle B, and we go for a walk, and we talk about the birds. I'm pretty good at spotting the little songbirds and the trees, and Ken and Dorothy are experts on the water birds, and so we take you on a tour, and then we have lunch together. So if you'd like to buy a ticket, please see Ken or Dorothy. This Saturday night on the patio is the Shamrock Social at 7 p.m. Gather around the fire pit, play games, bring food and beverage, and have fun.
Certain green-colored ice creams will be made available.
Oh, green-colored ice creams. That sounds, I don't want to miss that.
No green beer?
You can bring your own green beer. You can bring your own green beer. We're okay with that. Next week's worship service is going to be a very special presentation by the, let me see if I get this right, the Council on American Islamic Relations. We'll have a guest speaker, thanks to Vaisal, who reached out, who will educate us on Islam, because the practice of trust involves knowledge, right? Getting to know that which we are unfamiliar with so that we don't fear it, and so that we learn to trust one another. So please don't miss next Sunday. And of course, thank you to all of those who were out there at First Friday for the Mardi Gras First Friday. Looks like they were having fun, and it was Vaisal and Macy and Catherine and the kids. Nick, were you there too? Awesome. Nick was there. So thank you all for doing that. You bet. Well, of course, please check the back of your order of service and our e-newsletter, which is published on Mondays for more information. Thank you. And now, we will create our sacred space by lighting our chalice. My chalice lighting words are entitled A Sturdy Flame. They were written by Reverend Julianne Lepp because she wants to trust that we can heal a nation divided and filled with mistrust. We light this chalice with hope, a sturdy flame we nurture in these difficult times. We light this chalice with the heart of compassion for a nation divided by politics and strife. We light this chalice knowing that it will take all of us to repair this world we live in. May we find rest, compassion, and the hope that we need to nurture ourselves and each other. May this sturdy light remind us of the people we can be and the difference we can make in the world together. Sage, would you please do us the honor of lighting our chalice? Now, if you would all please rise and body your spirit and join me in singing and signing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. It is now our time for all ages, so I would like to invite the young and the young at heart to come forward. Good morning, good morning. We have a new friend. Can you say welcome? Say welcome. Her name's Abby.
Welcome, Abby.
Hi. All right. All right. So, I heard you were looking forward to a story. Mm-hmm. I lost the book. So I don't really have a story, but I usually do. I promise. Yeah. Silly me. If you've seen my office, you would understand what happened. So anyway, I do have some questions for you, though. What song did we just sing? Spirit of Life. What's the spirit of life?
That's a good question.
Love. What's the spirit of life? Free spirit? Yeah. Care. Yeah. Any other? All of us being together. Yeah. Love. Well, I have a lot of different answers. Do we all have to have the same answer? No, we don't. We don't. That's good. How come? I heard someone say because we're UUs. Are we ever going to have the same answer? Not likely. We might have similar answers, yeah. Is it okay to think differently from one another? Yeah. Absolutely. Does it mean we have to argue and bicker about who's right and who's wrong?
There is no right and wrong.
Okay, no. Instead, what can we do? Take turns. Share. What's that? Accept each other. Yeah, Helen? Learn from each other.
Connection plus love equal
Transformation. So if we all have different ideas of what the spirit of life is, we can talk about it. We can share. We can learn from one another. And when we're doing that, we're rooted in love and we're connecting. And that equals transformation. What are we transforming? Ourselves, our community. We become better people. And then when we go out into the world, what do we do?
What she said.
Care
And share.
and share and carry the flame. Yeah. So, one more question. When we're singing the Spirit of Life, is there like a picture, something that comes into your mind? Like what's going on when we're singing that song? Do you see anything in your mind?
Yeah,
Yeah? What do you see?
I see magic.
Magic. That's one of my favorite things. Love it. Anybody else? You think of winter? Oh, that's cool. How come? You don't, just that's what comes to your mind. I love that. Anybody else? The ocean. Yeah. Okay, well, that's cool. I love all of the different ideas, and I know that I have learned a lot from just our very short conversation today, and I look forward to talking to you all about it some more, maybe like at potluck or something. Yeah, awesome. And now, you get to go out with Melissa. We're going to sing our song, though. Yeah? Is our song, are we ready with our song? Okay, there it is. Do you remember this song? No, you don't. That's okay. I don't expect you to know the song. Okay, well, go ahead and stand up, and we're going to sing it once together, and then you can all move on out towards the doors. Ready? These hands will do the work. These feet will carry me. These arms will be welcoming to what these eyes can see. This mind will stay open to the possibility, and the love in this heart will set me free. These hands will do the work. All right. These feet will carry me. These arms will be welcoming to what these eyes can see. This mind will stay open to the possibility, and the love in this heart will set me free. All right, you're free to go. I just want to take a minute to light our healing candle. Sage, since you're still with us, would you mind lighting the healing candle over here for us? As we light the healing candle, let us just take a minute to reflect on the last 5 years, as it's been 5 years since the COVID lockdown. And so I just want us to take a minute to call upon the spirit of life and love, to think about the ways that it was with us and it carried us through the last 5 years and helped us heal and helped us to trust. Because we need to bring those ways forward with us as we move into some more difficult times. Spirit of life and love, thank you for being with us, showing us how to trust, helping us to heal not only our own souls, but those of the others that we meet on the path. Be with us as we move forward into the world again. Amen, and blessed be. Adrienne Marie Brown wrote, "Move at the speed of trust. Focus on critical connections more than critical mass. Build the resilience by building the relationships." Our ritual of the sharing of joys, concerns, and sorrows embodies the belief that there is power in weaving our lives together and building those relationships so that we may build a better world, one that honors the experiences of all of us. In our Joys and Sorrows book, you are able to write any significant joy or sorrow occurring in your life that you would like from the congregation to know. Today, I have a note from Vaisal that says, "I had so much fun at the First Friday event with Macy and Catherine's family at our booth." Crystal says, "Happy Women's History Month." Thank you. Oh, Elizabeth Caddy Stanton said, "The best protection a woman can have is courage." Thank you. So I invite you all now to come forward for our ritual of joys and sorrows. You may take whichever stone or stones feels right to you and drop it in the bowl, connecting to others, feeling the power of being together in this community. Zoom or Facebook or YouTube, good morning. You are all such a blessing to this community, and I thank you for being here today and continuing to weave the web of love with us. Faisal, would you please come up and tell these folks why you give to this congregation?
Thank you, Heather. Hi, how are you? Have you noticed that it is really hard to find things to be happy about recently?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you're like me, you would be asking, like, what is going on? You're not alone. We all feel that way, same way. My name is Veysel Dokur, and today I serve this congregation as greeter usher and other roles at different times. Well, today I want to talk a little bit about what makes us happy. I mean, short answer is here. It says in the center, love. Love makes, people happy, and world definitely needs more love and more happiness. So when I was asked about this question, why do I give to this congregation, this community, that only resonated with me, like why I am here, why I am a Unitarian Universalist. So the answer is because of you, this community. I'm here because of all of you forming our congregation and the community. So I joined this community and I learned a lot about being you, especially the first principle, the inherent worth of dignity of every person. And as UUs, we don't shame each other. We don't threaten each other with damnation of this, that. We don't have certain creeds or doctrines. And I love the fourth principle back then, that we believe in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Now as a UU, I cherish and celebrate the diversity of the people living all around the world. Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, native religions, all kinds. But more importantly, I learn from you, from each other's, as we come from different, diverse, and colorful backgrounds. This is a caring community, and everyone who comes here can participate in creating a meaningful community. Many of us help plan services along with our minister and lead singing, the chorus, creativity matters. We are more than a community, a congregation. This is my family, and I love to take care of my family. And I contribute in any way I can, including my time, my talent, and my treasures. And as Heather said, it takes a lot to run this congregation, taking care of the building, facilities, and I forgot to do something. I was supposed to grab this, bring Bertha with me. I'm gonna do that, I'm sorry. I didn't take Bertha with me. For those of you who don't know Bertha, one day you'll learn. She is one of the founders of this congregation, the community. She and the others, in those, plate the rocks. Sorry, I'm getting more emotional here. They built this place. They made it happen so that we can be here. I can be here. I can be myself here and share with all of you. So I feel it my not only duty that gives me happiness to be able to give here and make it available now and future generations. That's why I give. Plus, that's the joy. And this is the tax season, Your donations are pledges are tax deductible. You can save on your tax too. I think I went over my time, but thank you, and please pledge generously. Thank you, Pastor. I'll leave that for you.
Thank you, Vaisal. If you don't know who Bertha Stites is by now, you'll find out. Trust me. Ben.
Now we come to the time for sharing of abundance. Here we gather, tucked back in this friendly neighborhood between the beautiful tall pines. We are a community of people who have arrived from many paths, yet we seek a common goal: to bring more love to a hurting but beautiful world. As Unitarian Universalists, we aspire to reach this goal through our shared values, one of which is the value of generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. This we can only do together, and your monetary gifts are essential to supporting our endeavor. Our ushers will now pass the plate.
What is the divine? In a Unitarian Universalist congregation, it's not something defined by a list of attributes to which everyone must ascribe. In a UU church, some people don't particularly care for the word divine or any implications the word might have. In a UU church, we learn different ways to understand the word, and we respect how others use the word. Some of us have very particular beliefs around the word divine, as well as spirit, God, goddess, the mystery, the universe, or that something greater than us. And in a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we trust that we are safe no matter what our spiritual beliefs are. We are a free faith. We are a religion not bound by creeds and dogma, but rather by our shared values, the ones you see hanging on our walls. And we are bound by the covenants that we make to uphold those shared values. As long as we hold as true as we can to our shared values, it doesn't matter what spiritual path we journey down in order to bring them alive in the world. The metaphor, many windows, one light, is commonly used to describe this way of doing our kind of religion. As Unitarian Universalists, we are all on different spiritual paths, and that is what makes us a unique and deeply rich faith tradition. Our shared value of pluralism asks us to celebrate that we are all sacred beings diverse in culture, experience, and theology. It calls us to embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. This is a practice of trust, one in which we must feel safe with one another in order to be vulnerable enough to share our deepest beliefs about life. This is about trusting that our differences can connect us as we learn from each other and come to support one another despite the various ways in which we perceive the divine. And so today, we're going to be practicing trust as our different perspectives are shared. We will have some folks sharing about that thing bigger than ourselves, that mystery that some call the divine or God or the spirit of life and love. But first, in honor of the many different ways in which we hear the Spirit calling, we will sing hymn number 2 in our gray hymnal. It's called Down the Ages We Have Trod, which is maybe not the most delightful name, but it is a delightful song, and so it's a
And we're going to do all 7 verses, right?
I have invited Ben Basili to deliver the bulk of our message today before we start sharing. Because in our worship committee meeting, Ben felt excited about this service today and had a really, I think, important message to share. So, Ben, it's all yours.
Thank you, Heather. I have some things to say today about trust, and a few thoughts maybe about the nature of the divine as well. And a lot of it comes from 30 years ago when I was privileged to blend together some of the ideas about the divine that I learned from recovery groups with the things I learned when I became a new Unitarian. Sorry, a new UU. The idea of trust in a religious or spiritual context is fascinating for me and for many of us who grew up believing in a personal God. I did believe in God as a young boy in an evangelical home and absolutely put my trust in him. Now, you may have noticed that I used a male pronoun there. I did simply because it would take me over 3 decades of spiritual evolution to shed the idea that God was an old dude in a white robe, sporting a long gray beard while sitting on an ivory throne, furiously writing down each of my sins and misdeeds. For the last 30 years of my life, I've been imaging God as a wise and powerful woman who loves and looks after me and comforts me after every time I scrape my knees or get my heart broken. That appeals to me a lot more. And I'm pretty sure she's a fabulous chef and loves to bake. I miss you, Mom. Yeah, there's some other issues in there, I think. Yay. So now a bit of detail about my own spiritual walk. I had a salvation experience as a 9-year-old boy in a tent revival in downtown Orlando, and then felt a call to preach at the age of 12. Another significant step for me in that earlier time in my spiritual formation was entering graduate seminary at Oral Roberts University. I could say so much about that thread in my spiritual tapestry, but time will not permit. Now, this was in the early 80s, and I was in my mid-20s. Some of you, I'm pretty sure, have heard me tell the story of how I dropped out of seminary early in my 3rd semester. While in seminary, I had to juggle 3 balls, a full load of classes, working enough to pay my bills, and being a new dad to our firstborn. Sadly, I could not keep those 3 balls in the air, and I felt compelled to withdraw. Fast forward approximately 12 years to 1993. A lot of things can happen in a 12-year span. I had extricated myself from a failed marriage after 11 years and 3 children. And so it was, about a year after that, I found myself sitting in the classroom in the RE building of the First Unitarian Church in downtown Orlando, participating in a support group for people struggling with issues of bills and debt and all of that. I was making meetings in other similar groups structured in the same way, but for other issues. Meetings of that sort are often hosted by churches, and First Unitarian rented space to 3 or 4 of them, as does our congregation here. It was a time of rapid evolution for me as far as my spiritual beliefs and practices. And on that particular afternoon in that meeting, I was looking around the room, and I noticed that the kids whose Sunday sessions actually took place in the room had done an art project in class, and their work had been scotch-taped to the walls. I was utterly fascinated by what I saw. There was a circle on the paper with the symbols of various world religions going all around. And the kids worked their crayon magic on that page, giving life and bursts of color to each part. I liked what I saw, but I was struck with how very impossible it would have been for children to have ever been given an assignment like that in the church in which I was raised. Such an assignment would never have been given. And if a kid dared to do that, his doodles would have been wadded up and thrown into the trash, and there would have been an actual come to Jesus meeting with the preacher and the parents of that wayward child. Now, I liked what I saw, but I was fascinated to see exactly what a church that had an RE program like that would be like. So now, as a 38-year-old divorced man, feeling spiritually burnt out, estranged, and adrift, but for the previous 6 or 7 months before that, I had been engaged in a project to redefine my spirituality, leaving behind the dogmatism, the rigidity, and all of that was so central to my early religious formation. So I resolved to go and visit the church and see what it was all about. Well, within 6 months, I had taken the Inquirer's class at First Unitarian. By the way, just a quick footnote. I don't mean to not be inclusive, but the reason we say First Unitarian is that that congregation was formed in 1907, more than 50 years before the merger of the Unitarian and the Universalists. And they voted at some point just to keep the name exactly the way it was, but not meaning any kind of disrespect to our Universalist brethren. There I am using a male image. I'm so sorry. Oh, and just a quick addition to that, it is the oldest Unitarian congregation in Florida. I took the Inquirer's class, became a member, and I'll sum up how that worked out for me. I was able, in the 2 or 3 years after joining, to craft a new spirituality out of the interesting and completely home-brewed way of blending what I learned in 12-step programs, what I learned and what I experienced, with my experiences as a new Unitarian Universalist. Now, God, the word God and ideas about God can be found in the big book of AA and in the 12 steps themselves. As many of you are no doubt aware, the first step of AA is merely acknowledging that alcohol, or whatever the substance or behavior is that has you thoroughly stuck at that part of your life, it's an acknowledgement that it has beaten you and you are powerless to get free of it on your own. As far as God and the issue of trust is concerned, the verbiage right out of the big book in step 2 is key. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. At that time in my life, I found no end of delight in the fact that neither my recovery friends nor my newfound UU friends had any inclination to dictate to me what this God, if in fact he or she existed, what this God might be like, or what that might mean in the way of theology or a way to order one's life. I was free to work those things out myself. Having said that, it is true that the founders of AA embraced the idea of a divine being or source, but they went to great lengths in their literature and in their big book not to tie that to any church doctrine or any church denomination. The language in step 3 refers to God as we understand him. And another corollary there is if you didn't believe in God, or if you thought it was all nonsense, you could act as if, and they assured you that it would work. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. In their literature and in the practice of the groups, there's a lot of stress on the effort to get beyond oneself and to put your trust in something greater. We were hearing about that in the part that Heather contributed just a moment ago. And what I found to be so true and so helpful 33 years ago was that the Divine One, my higher power, God as I conceived him or her, could and would restore me to sanity, to wholeness and health. And it didn't have to be the angry, austere, vengeful, and remote God that was described to me as a child. There is a common saying in the rooms of recovery that goes like this: if the God of your understanding isn't working for you anymore, fire him and hire a new one. That really resonated with me. In the following 9 years, when support group meetings of all kinds were a primary focus of my life, I continued to put my trust in this newfound higher power, whom I no longer feared and hoped was not as fickle and angry as had been described to me. My once now ex, she's still my ex, I'm sorry. The 11 years and the 3 kids. Once asked me in a phone conversation if I had found a 12-step group to help me get over my addiction to 12-step groups. They followed a more conventionally Jesus-y route to arrive, I would say, at a similar destination. Now, I'm happy to say that at that time I did find a happy and workable balance with such things. A common idea about what a higher power could be like in that milieu is kind of a loose Jungian concept of the love, the support, and the goodwill of other members in that group and in the AA fellowship around the world. Now that I could believe in, and I could put my trust in that. That kind of an idea also applied well to my membership and my participation at First Unitarian. It was really the love, the goodwill, and the support of that wonderful congregation that kept me sane, well, and functioning day to day. The acceptance and love that I found there had become my higher power, my God. I will happily add that First Unitarian also became a great outlet to cultivate and exercise my creative interests and skills. I enjoyed and benefited immensely from serving as a worship associate there and later as the chair of the worship committee. I want to make it perfectly clear that my purpose this morning is not to advocate for any particular idea about God or the nature of the Divine One, if there is in fact such a thing, such a being. In the more than 3 decades since that time, I began to craft a new and personal spirituality by pulling together those 2 threads that I mentioned. And my ideas about God have continued to flux and revolve. Now, in the realm of physics or quantum mechanics, there's that tantalizing conundrum of Schrodinger's cat. Because we don't presently know whether the decay of an atom has released the poison in the poison flask and killed that poor kitty, in a sense, that cat is both living and dead. And we just won't know. That's the great paradox of Schrodinger's cat. So, although this may sound kind of trite, I don't think I can or will know whether God exists or doesn't exist until and unless I get a chance to open the box and observe the true state of things. You could call that Schrodinger's cat theology, if you will. In the meantime, if I put all that aside, it works. It doesn't really matter. The Divine One, a higher power, the God of my understanding, can be at work in my life if I'm willing to place my trust and confidence in something greater than myself, something outside of me. For me, when left to my own devices, I tend to be self-centered, and it's very essential for me to believe there's something out there that's greater than me, and my life will work better if I let go of this selfishness and self-centeredness and put my trust there. As was true for me back in the 90s, today this thing that's greater than me is the love, the goodwill, and the support of the folks I know in my chosen family, or I should say families. I find love and support with the few blood family members who are still with us. After 7 decades of drawing breath on this earth, I'm down to 1 brother and 2 sons. I'm delighted to say that I find a lot of love and support among my Disney friends and fellow cast members too. That's real for me. And I find so much wonderful and life-enriching support right here among my fellow members and friends at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lakeland. It's meant so much to me in the last 2.5 years when I landed here, literally not knowing a single soul besides my little brother. And so that love, that goodwill, and the support of this loving family is something that I can put my trust and confidence in.
Ben, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. I really appreciate knowing how you got to that place of understanding. And I did select a few other people to just give briefly to help us illustrate just how different or similar our perspectives of the divine, of the spirit of life are. And so I'm going to ask those people to come up and to share. We will start with Petra. Okay. Well, in fact, Petra, it was Petra's question that started this service. And so we will start with Petra. When she said, trust, what about trusting in something we can't see? Aha. And this idea was born. So Petra, please.
Actually, after what you just said, I mean, what more is there to say?
There's different perspectives, and yours is one of them.
Well, I agree with him. Can I go sit down? All right. Well, our first question was, what did I say? Meaning what she said. With spirit of life and love, source of all there is, we honor the sacredness of all life, this interdependent web to which we are deeply connected and with which we are still weaving. God of many names, partner with us as we weave, lead us towards beauty and fill us with hope. Those were the words that she wanted to know. What did I say? What does it mean to you? And what spiritual source do you trust in? Hopefully I will answer some of these questions as I go. What I hear in the words that are written there is an effort to connect with as many people as possible, using myriad references to what I call divine source, in order to partner with those like-minded and the energy which connects us all to create a life of beauty, truth, peace, and love. That's kind of sort of more confusing, actually, than the question itself. But in those words, you're asking for assistance in our quest from the energy that connects all existence. Now the next question, how do we practice trust with what we cannot see? And when I read those words, how do you interpret them? Practicing trust with what we cannot see begins from the time we're born. We, of course, do not realize we're doing this. We simply fall asleep. And when we're tired, and when we awake, we're rested. We're unaware that we are trusting some force unknown to us that we will indeed awake. We have no knowledge that every biological function in our bodies is guided by something we cannot see. Even as adults, we take all of this stuff for granted. Science has proven that everything in the universe is simply energy. Nature makes no distinction between the energy that constitutes a flower or a man. All emotions are energy. We rely on our emotions to guide us out of danger, away from hostility, into love. Just like the wind, we don't see emotion, only the effects caused by it. Nothing exists without the presence of energy, and it's all the same. We will profit greatly by looking for the similarities between all things, animal, vegetable, and mineral. And to quote Rumi, who is a 13th century Persian poet, love is not an emotion, it is your very existence. For those who love with heart and soul, there's no such thing as separation. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it.
Jen?
So for me, a practice of trust starts with what sits right and with my soul and my heart. I believe that there's a higher power in control of our universe, and we just live on a small rotating ball within it. I feel the power of a higher being when I step into the ocean, feel the tide take the sand out from under my feet, and waves knock me over. I feel the power of a higher being when I stare at a waterfall and feel the power of it shaking the land beneath me. I feel the power of a higher being when I see healthy plants bearing many fruits and flowers, further knowing that this would not be possible without being in a relationship with that higher being. I feel a higher being at work when I wake up to a cloudless sky. I feel as if I understand how much this higher being needs to be respected when I see the devastation produced by hurricanes, tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanoes. How do I know this higher being exists? Because when I acknowledge this higher being, my heart and my soul feel at ease. When I look at the world around me and I question the actions of people and businesses that are destroying this beautiful place that we live, I trust that this higher being has a long-term goal and the best interests of the universe in mind. The universe in which I am just a small blip in, a universe that was here long before me and will be here long after. So when Heather says spirit of life and love, I envision a being that makes it clear that the concept of life and the concept of love are not meant to be separated. But in all honesty, I feel this spirit more than I can envision it. I feel a higher being that accepts me for who I am and accepts me where I am at. I feel a higher being that challenges me to be a better person, a better version of myself. I feel a higher being that wants me to love more deeply, have a bigger and louder voice, a higher being that wants me to make a difference in this world. Spirit of life and love, please continue to guide me in how best to live my life, how to best love myself and those around me, and how to best take care of this world that we live in. Amen.
Isaiah.
Good morning. Lately, I've been trusting in a higher power because I might have not have been here this morning because Friday, I almost got into a head-on collision car crash going to work, and I only really had like 3 seconds to respond to it. I swerved off the road, and thankfully, me and my coworkers were safe. And, it happened so fast, but as it was happening, it felt like time was in slow motion, and I was really lucky that I didn't go into, a steep ditch or, run into the pile of, metal car parts that happened to be there or, hit into the guy. So I just want to let y'all know I love y'all, for real, for real. But I think I survived for a reason, and I think it's because I got to give some tough love out this morning. So, you know how, you're in the middle of a football game and y'all are losing? Well, we got to get in the huddle right now and talk strategy and tactics. So, going into it finally, as the tides of fascism rise, we must maintain against the grain by any means necessary. How do we gain trust in times of confusion and disarray? We all happen to know that trust isn't something we just give out. In order to create trust, we must create connections that are genuine. Connection is the first step towards trust, and through connection and love, we can create transformation in our communities. We understand that no one is entitled to trust anybody, but when it comes to politics and the world stage, we seem to miss the mark there. Some people may not like what I'm about to say, but nobody's entitled to vote or subscribe to whatever you believe in. If you cannot make a sound justification towards why someone should follow your lead, perhaps you don't know how to make your case, or perhaps maybe your ideas aren't really that good at all. After all, insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Fascists have taken over the government. And a man by the name of Representative Al Green stood up and said, "You have no mandate." What did his party do to him? They voted to censor him. In the name of order and decorum, when they say go low, we go high, politics like it's 1995. This is the time of flipping tables, because even Jesus felt anger. But it never ceases to amaze me how MLK's words ring throughout the decades. He said, "First, I must confess that over the last few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white citizens, counselor, or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice." While we are divided right now as a people, our enemies are organized. You know, a broken clock happens to be right twice a day. You know, I saw this thing. It was this rally. It was called Defend the Border Convoy, you know? And there was this MAGA conservative that said something that actually really intrigued me. While I do not agree how they view the world, one of them said, "We don't actually think we're going to physically stop illegal immigrants from coming over the border, but we came here to practice our First Amendment rights." The connection and trust that they have with each other intrigued me. So, you know, a few weeks ago, February 28th, was the economic blackout. While the boycott didn't do much to move the needle of fascism in this country, what I think is important was the practice of trust. When I was at the bonfire that day with friends, Heather said that even if this didn't do much to change anything, even if this didn't do anything to change anything in the grand scheme of things, she said that this was a spiritual practice. I don't want to pretend that I have all the answers because I frankly don't. But more importantly, we must maintain against the grain by practicing resistance as a community. I don't think MLK could have gotten to where he got by the end of his life if he didn't gain trust and connections through his community. We want to do big things like perhaps a general strike or Occupy Wall Street. If we are to do big things, we must be able to commit through spiritual practice. Anger is a strong emotion. Use it. Organize and fight back with your community. But don't let fear and bitterness take over. It doesn't look like it now, but these next few years are going to be crucial. Don't let social media or the news make you hate your brothers and sisters who have so much in common with you. Because through connection and love, we can create transformation.
I'm glad to know the spirit of life and love is on fire in Isaiah. Thank you, Isaiah.
The Holy Spirit is here with us today.
That's right. Sherry.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm truly humbled by the people that came before me. This is like cheerleader tryouts where you go last and you're supposed to be best or something. I don't think I can follow. I'm not worthy to be up here, so I'll just say what Heather asked me to think about this weekend. And it starts with the word namaste. In Hinduism, that word reflects the belief that the self and the divine is the same in me and you. And when you say it to each other, it's, I recognize and honor the place in you that is your inner light, your inner peace, and your inner truth. And when they say it back, namaste, they're saying the same thing to you. So we here at UUCL, we all have at least one thing in common, and that is that our lives and our spiritual journeys led us here together. A place where we can ask questions, believe what we want, and respectfully disagree. And I trust that my journey and where I am will be respected like I respect your journey and where you are right now. So, is there a God, an architect of all this? I'm not sure. I used to think so because that is what I was told to think, growing up by my parents, because that's what they were told to think, and so on. But once I started asking questions and thinking for myself, that's when my spiritual journey began. And I'm still asking questions and thinking for myself. And it's these questions that a person can spend their whole life and their whole journey trying to find the answers to. So I could stand up here and do like a little bit of George Carlin, who I agree with, by the way, and say what God is not. It's not some man sitting in the clouds who's angry with you, who wants you to give money, right? So I have a lot of strong ideas about what God or the spirit of life is not. But the closest I've gotten to what God is, or the spirit of life is, God, or whatever the concept you want to call it, is that force, the spirit in all living things, plants, animals, nature, the universe, and us. I believe we're all one, that we all come from the same place and go back to the same stardust when we're finished here. I believe we're all on different journeys that are unique, making different choices, good and bad, and learning different lessons. And I don't believe in heaven or hell as destinations. I think they're right here, right now. I see evidence of both daily. And I also believe on this journey that we have a choice. We have free will. And we can choose love over fear. And that's the biggest disruptor of all, of the forces of darkness in our world, choosing love over fear. So what do I trust in? Where I am now, 50 years later from when I started thinking for myself and asking questions, it's kind of a combination of Sikhism, George Carlin, Bob Marley, truth, nature, American Indian, science, Stephen Hawking, a little supernatural sprinkled in, love, and Jimmy Buffett.
Thank you, Sherry. That was awesome and unique. So I also did ask Adam, can you, under 20 seconds, Adam, what is the spirit of life? We want to know. I'm curious. Are you curious? Yeah. Yeah. Go, come here. Come on up. Use the mic.
So, how do we trust what we cannot see? Obviously, that involves knowledge to me. You know, I'm a physicist, philosophy, did all sorts of stuff like that, right? There's two ways you know stuff. Either you know it yourself directly through empirical evidence. You've experienced yourself. I know what love is. I've loved. I've been loved. I know what life is. I'm alive. I see life everywhere I look, right? Or the other way of knowing something is called rhetoric, which is someone's told you it, and then you have to decide whether you believe them or not. So that involves trust in others. And of course, I love to read. That's where I get most of my knowledge from. So things I've experienced myself, things I trust that people have told me, all that works together to combine to have a great trust for the nature of life. Is that 20 seconds?
Yes.
ChatGPT says, the spirit of life is that unseen force that moves through everything, its vitality, energy, and the essence of existence itself. Some see it as a breath that animates all living things, while others view it as a deeper connection between all beings, a rhythm that binds us to nature, each other, and the universe. It's in the laughter of a child, the wind through the trees, the determination to keep going despite hardships, and the quiet moments of peace that remind us that we are alive.
Wow, ChatGPT. Very poetic. Very unique. Unitarian, Universalist. Thank you. All right. Well, the sharing of our differences while still embracing and supporting one another, that is divine. That is the practice of trust. And that is something we so desperately need in this world today. So thank you all for being together in the ways we want the world to be. When we practice trust in here, we will know better the ways to practice it out there. My closing words are from Robert Weston, entitled Out of the Stars. Out of the stars and their flight, out of the dust of eternity, here have we come, stardust and sunlight, mingling through time and through space. Out of the stars have we come, up from time. Out of the stars have we come. Time out of time before time, in the vastness of space, earth spun to orbit the sun, earth with the thunder of mountains newborn, the boiling of seas. Earth warmed by sun, lit by sunlight, this is our home. Out of the stars we have come. Mystery, hidden in mystery, back through all time. Mystery, rising from rocks in the storm and the sea. Out of the stars, rising from rocks and the sea, kindled by sunlight on earth, arose life. Ponder this thing in your heart. Life, up from sea. Eyes to behold, throats to sing, mates to love. Life from the sea, warmed by sun, washed by rain. Life from within, giving birth, rose to love. This is the wonder of time. This is the marvel of space. Out of the stars swung the earth, life upon earth rose to love. This is the marvel of life, rising to see and to know. Out of your heart, cry wonder, sing that we live. And indeed, we are going to sing one more time. This is a hymn number 8, was written by Norbert Chapek, who was killed by Nazis in Dachau during World War II. But even behind prison bars, he wrote songs so that he could live. And these songs are his gift to us. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, where are you? In the sky, song in the forest, sounds of your cry. What to give you, what to call you, what am I? Many drops are in the ocean, deep and wide. Sunlight bounces off the ripples to the sky. What to give you, what to call you, who am I? I am empty, time flies from me, what is time? Dreams eternal, fears infernal, haunt my heart. What to give you, what to call you, oh my God. Spirit, Father, Spirit, take our hearts. Take our breath and let our voices sing our parts. Take our hands and let us work to shape our art.
Please join me as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice that not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world.